from a betting perspective with pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex Beatsman, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Sunday, November the 6th, Ian Cameron with you. Flying solo today. It's going to be a very short edition of the show. It is a Hamilton Tiger Cat Oski Wee Wee baby. Playoff game day, CFL East Division semifinals. For the two people that might care besides me listening to the show right now, the Montreal Alouettes and the Hamilton Ticats. So I'm off to a viewing party. And because it's like going to be 70 degrees Fahrenheit today here in Hamilton, it's going to be an outdoor viewing party. If I would have said to you, you're going to have an outdoor viewing party for a Ticat playoff game on November the 6th in Hamilton, I would have said you're fucking insane. And yet here we are about to have an outdoor viewing party because the weather's so incredibly warm and gorgeous for early November. 70 degrees, that's insane for this time of year. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to have the Ticat game on the big screen. We're going to have a bunch of other monitors so we can watch the NFL games as well, some NHL, because we do have 3 NHL games on tap for this Sunday, which we will get to in just a few moments. So it's going to be a hell of a fun Sunday. So looking forward to that. Of course, we got a full week of shows once again coming up. Of course, Alex will be back with me tomorrow. So no problem there. And looking forward to the week ahead. But before we get into the Sunday card, and by the way, even though Alex is not on the show with me today, he does have a best bet for today's card. He passed it along, and I will be sure to give that out to you at the end of the show. Before we get into the 3 games here on Sunday, let's look back on last night's action. It was a busy Saturday in the NHL. It started in the afternoon with the Detroit Red Wings getting my day off to a winning start as they shut out the New York Islanders 3-0. You know, I didn't like seeing what I saw, and I mentioned this on Twitter with the whole Lucas Raymond hit on Matt Barzal. I get it, Matt Barzal, one of your star players, one of your most important, impactful players on the New York Islanders, and you certainly want to defend your teammate whenever it's reasonable to do so. But we can't be losing our shit and losing our minds over every damn clean hit. And that was a perfectly clean hit, nice open ice, clean hit. Didn't contact the head, didn't charge from, 10, 20 feet away. It was just a good, strong, open ice, clean hit. And everybody goes nuts on the Islanders, and they all want a piece of Lucas Raymond after that. Whereas the Josh Anderson incident with Pietrangelo in the Vegas-Montreal game, that was a little bit different. That was a little bit more dangerous what Anderson did there. Whereas you look at this one here with Lucas Raymond and Matt Barzal. I mean, I think we're at the point now where we've really got to settle down. And when we see, we don't like seeing our teammate, one of our best players, hit like that. But at the same time, if it's clean, shouldn't really be going crazy. You should, it's a clean hit. It's supposed to be part of hockey. Let it go, keep playing. Like if he basically cross-checks the guy's head into the boards, then I go after him. Then I'd have a problem if it was something really malicious. But that was something that was I thought it was a little bit of an overreaction. But Detroit gets a nice win, 3-0, shutting out the Islanders, who are playing some good hockey. The problems continue for Columbus. They lose again in Finland to Colorado 5-1. You got to wonder, Brad Larson, is his seat warming? Because that was not a good performance at all from the Jackets. Winnipeg with a 4-0 shutout win over Chicago. Dallas 6-2 over Edmonton. I was dead wrong on this. I like the Oilers. I thought they'd bounce back, really be on their game after blowing the lead against New Jersey the other night. And it was another soft performance defensively. It was another tough night for Jack Campbell, a tough day, I should say, for Jack Campbell and net. It's just one of those situations where, look, the guy is definitely struggling with his confidence, although the Edmonton defense isn't helping him out a lick. I mean, they didn't play that great in front of him. So, definitely issues right now with his play right now, Jack Campbell. And the Oilers definitely not the start they hoped for this season. And they lose 6-2 to a Dallas team that's continuing to play pretty well. Toronto, give them credit. 2-1 win over Boston. That was a man-up performance from the Leafs. They played, I thought, terrific defensively. They didn't give the Bruins a whole lot in that game. The only goal was the Brad Marchand penalty shot for Boston. They were really good defensively. They lose Ilya Samsonov, their goalie, to injury, and we'll get to that because the Leafs are in action today. And Eric Kallgren has to take over, and they really dug in after that, blocking a ton of shots like it was Game 7 of a playoff series. That was a good gut check for the Toronto Maple Leafs, 2-1. And I wonder with Boston, right? They're rolling. They were 10-1 going into last night. They lose that game, and this is not to take anything away from the Leafs. They played great. But how much of the loss, and I'm interested to see how the Bruins play after that game last night, because the whole, not scandal, but controversy, I guess, if you will, with Mitchell Miller, who is signed by the Bruins despite that bullying incident, which was heinous, by the way. If you read the details of that racial bullying incident, racial abuse, racial bullying incident with Mitchell Miller from years ago, about 6 years ago, it's terrible. It's heinous. It's absolutely ugly, the stuff he did. And you can understand why the Bruins players were taken aback, were stunned that Don Sweeney actually signed this guy. And you wonder if that's caused a little bit of a ripple effect. Like I'm wearing the spoke B on my chest here. I'm trying to represent this organization with class, with integrity, with inclusion, and all this stuff. And we're bringing this guy into the team. If I'm Patrice Bergeron, if I'm Pasternak, and I'm Marchand, and I'm the leadership group of the Bruins, I'm a little bit confused. Why are we doing this here? So that's something that, you're 10-1. If you're Don Sweeney, look yourself in the mirror and look at how the team's playing. Your team is awesome right now. You're 10-1. Do you really need to go down this rabbit hole and sign this kid who's had this ugly incident from his past? And I'm not saying people don't deserve second chances. Maybe the kid is contrite. Maybe he wants to make amends for what he did. But my gosh, it's bad. It's what he did was just horrendous. It was horrible. And somehow, some way, and Gary Bettman and Bill Daly in the league are putting the stop sign up, saying, "Hold on now, you signed this kid, you didn't tell us about it, and we're here to tell you, Don Sweeney, that he may not get to play for you, and he may not play in the NHL, at least not anytime soon." So this situation and this story is definitely continuing to evolve and unfold. But you just wonder. I mean, everything's going so great, and then this happens, signing this kid who's just obviously a problem kid from what happened 6 years ago. And you wonder if it upsets the apple cart. So I'm fascinated to see if Boston rebounds from this, or if this is like these are guys that should be able to park what's going on and what Sweeney did and signing this kid and still focus on winning games, coming to the rink, playing your best every day. But I'm fascinated to see if there is an impact that signing makes on how this team plays moving forward. I mean, it's a legitimate question. And I think it's something that, you have to consider. Like, is this going to maybe upset this just terrific start to the season for Boston? Something to look at moving forward. So, but they lose last night 2-1, give the Leafs a lot of credit. By the way, Samsonov injured day-to-day, and he won't be traveling with them to Carolina for the game on Sunday. So it'll be Eric Kallgren and net. We'll get to that game in our Sunday preview in just a bit. Another tough loss for Ottawa, 2-1 against Philadelphia. Very disappointing. Fire DJ chants in the crowd last night and on Twitter. I mean, Fire DJ was trending on Twitter. DJ Smith, the head coach of the Senators, an embattled head coach. And look, the Senators fans, and there's one, like DJ, I think he's from the Babcock tree. Babcock gave him his first coaching opportunity in the NHL. But there is one thing, and I don't think he's done a horrible job, but there are things this year that I can understand why the Sens fans are pissed with this guy. How is Nikita Zaitsev still getting the amount of minutes and ice time he's getting? He's not very good. All right. And he wasn't good enough to stick with a Leaf blue line that wasn't the greatest when he played there. Ottawa brings him in. He's playing way too much. Like, I don't care who you can get on the blue line. You've got to get someone else. This guy's a turnover machine. You can walk around him. He's not very good at defending, forwards one-on-one. It's just not good. I mean, and the fact that he keeps getting 17, 19 minutes, holy goodness, you make it sound like he's a Norris Trophy candidate with those ice time minutes. My goodness. I mean, and people are pissed off. He doesn't give you much of anything offensively. He's not very good defensively in his own end. What's he doing? What does he do to help you? And the Ottawa Senators fans are apparently livid right now in terms of what they are getting from Nikita Zaitsev and the fact that DJ Smith insists on playing this guy so much. And that's not the only issue they've got with the coach right now, but it's one of many. They say that he doesn't adjust in games, and it's right now you're seeing not a whole lot of adjustments. I agree with that. So the hot seat is really getting hot for DJ Smith because Ottawa was supposed to be better this year. Ottawa was supposed to be a team that could maybe make the playoffs this year, and they have not started out the way they hoped. 4-7, sitting 8th in the Atlantic Division, and the Atlantic Division is a fucking beast right now with how good this division is top to bottom. And for them to be dead last, bringing up the rear behind even the likes of Montreal and Detroit, that's a problem right now for the Ottawa Senators. So we'll see if they can turn things around, but not the start that anybody in Ottawa hoped for, without a doubt. Seattle 3-2 against another dreadful loss for Pittsburgh. 3-2 to the Seattle Kraken. Seattle's now beaten Pittsburgh twice in as many weeks. Just no confidence right now with the Penguins. And I was a benefactor of a plus 170 underdog winner with Seattle in that game. It was a very good underdog night for yours truly. I had Seattle at a big dog price. I had the Arizona Coyotes. Got to do the Coyote sound after that win last night. 3-2. They beat the Washington Capitals. Plus 250 underdog. The Arizona Coyotes roared back from a 2-0 deficit. How bad of a loss is that for the struggling Washington Capitals? Again, the offense is very, very dormant right now. If Ovechkin doesn't score, nobody does right now for the Washington Capitals. The defensive play, again, let him down in the third period. Darcy Kemper's been okay, but not great since joining the Capitals. He's finding out it's not the Avs blue line anymore in front of him. A lot of issues right now for the Washington Capitals, and they lose 3-2 to the Arizona Coyotes. We saw Vegas with a 6-4 win over Montreal. Another tough loss for Vancouver. 3-0 lead in the first period. They lose 4-3 in a shootout to Nashville. The blown leads, which were a problem early in the season, they came back to roost last night for the Vancouver Canucks, unable to protect the lead. So very disappointing there for the Vancouver Canucks. And then we also saw Anaheim with a comeback 5-4 win over San Jose. Our guy, Howdy Doody, as I said, James Reimer, what the hell was he doing on the tying goal? You got to get your oven mitts on that puck. I mean, you've got to get your glove on that puck and make sure you smother it and hold it for a face-off. For some reason, he put his glove on that puck. It squirted loose, and there's Adam Henrique with a wide-open net to tie the game. I mean, the goaltending has to be better from James Reimer there in that situation. And Anaheim comes back to beat San Jose 5-4. And Erik Karlsson finally does not score a goal in a game last night. The Kings roar back against Florida 5-4. Wild game. It just was an offensive explosion. And then New Jersey, what a win for them. 4-3 over Calgary. I know the Flames fans are panicking a little bit right now. They've now lost to Seattle. They blew a third period lead. They didn't show up against Nashville. They got down early. They got outshot, I think, 13-2 in the first period against Nashville. And now they lose to New Jersey. But this loss, I wouldn't be as angry or petrified over. You know, the other two losses concern me. This one, not so much. New Jersey looks like the real fucking deal. They really do. I mean, they skate fast. They generate a ton of quality chances offensively with that speed and that skill that they have littered throughout all four lines. They're not giving up a ton. They're not giving up anywhere close to the amount of defensive, the offensive chances and scoring chances that they did last year. And the goaltending from as long as Vitek Vanacek is in net, I think he's a capable goalie and better than Blackwood. So there's a lot to like with New Jersey during this current win streak that they are on. They just keep finding ways to win. That is now 6 wins in a row for the New Jersey Devils after that win. And that was another of my underdog winners. We had New Jersey, Arizona, and Seattle last night. 3 big underdog winners on the show yesterday. So very good. That's going to help the bank roll out anytime that happens, no question. So a great Saturday. We cashed a bunch of goal scorer props in the late night hours. Not so much early, but once the late games rolled around, man, we hit a bunch of them. Zetterlund, Wood for New Jersey. Kuzmenko again for Vancouver, Velarde, Kumpari for LA. It was a very good night in the late night hours with the goal scorer props. No question about that. So very good to see that. So that's the Saturday wrap up. Let's get to Sunday. Toronto Maple Leafs, Carolina Hurricanes. We've got Carolina minus 160, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Back-to-back for the Leafs, a rested Carolina team after they beat Buffalo on Friday night. So definitely schedule advantage in Carolina's favor. Eric Shalgren in net after the injury to Ilya Samsonov yesterday. It'll probably be Frederik Andersen against for Carolina. Obviously, I would think Brind'Amour puts him in facing his former team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would make sense. We'll see how the Leafs fare. That was a great gut check win, but now you got to turn around, play less than 24 hours later. And let's be honest, they really wanted to beat the Bruins. You could tell last night. Do you have that same emotional connection, if you will, that same intensity? Do you have enough gas left in the tank here on the back-to-back against Carolina? That remains to be seen. What we can tell you here is that in Carolina, Carolina won 4-1 last year when these two teams met, although Toronto did win the two meetings in Toronto between these two teams. When you look at this particular matchup here, with Samson, Shalgren coming into the game in the third period, he played very well, and they played very well in front of him. Can he keep that going here tonight? That remains to be seen. But, you look at Shalgren, 0-1-2 he was going into last night. That's in starts, by the way. He obviously preserved the victory last night, but in 3 starts, he's winless. 0-3 with a .875 save percentage and 3.63 goals against average. Freddie Andersen in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll tell you what, Freddie Andersen, if he is in net, and I'm going to assume he is, even though it's not confirmed, he hasn't been great. 2.66 goals against average, .894 save percentage. So my first thought is look over the total in this game, 6.5. And certainly I would lean to Carolina in some form, probably in regulation to get a better price. Don't know if I'll bet it, but I certainly, the Carolina side, I say, but definitely will lean in that direction because certainly I worry about this situation a little bit here for Toronto, second of back-to-back games. As for goal scorer props, for Carolina, you can never go wrong with Jarvis and Natchez. I keep saying that over and over again, but it's true, and they keep finding ways to produce offensively for Carolina. On the Toronto side, we'll see what their lineup looks like tonight. But, it seems to be a different one game to the next for the Leafs. I know they scratched Pontus Holmberg and Nick Robertson last night. Dennis Malgin was in the lineup instead for the Leafs. We'll see how they go here. Carolina will have to be better, though, than they were to start the game against Buffalo because they played very good in the last 2 periods, but they could have been down 3 or 4-0 after that first period in Buffalo because the Sabres were all over them for the large part of the start of that game. So we'll see if Carolina can have a better start. I think I'll get there with over 6.5 and definitely lean at the very least to Carolina in regulation, which you'll be able to get around even money. All right, Detroit Red Wings, New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 260, home favorite, 6.5 the total. This is another game where you have a clear scheduling advantage for one team, and that's the Rangers. They are certainly rested here, whereas Detroit playing the second of back-to-backs. They had the matinee home game against the Islanders yesterday. It's also going to be their third game in 4 days here against the Rangers, and New York's been off since Thursday night when they had that 5-2 setback to the Boston Bruins. So we'll see how the Rangers bounce back here. That was not a good third period from the Rangers against Boston that night. They've been without Philip Hedl for the last 5 games, upper body injury that he suffered. It's someone they miss. I mean, he's more in the third line type of spot in the lineup, but they definitely miss him, and he's very good away from the puck as well. So that's going to be something to watch for. Now, they're hoping to have him back tonight, but obviously not 100% sure yet, but it's looking like he is on pace to be back in the New York Ranger lineup tonight, which would be great. We know how good he turned into in the playoffs for this team. And if he does play, that would be a huge boost to that center ice position for the New York Rangers. And like I say, when he is healthy, I mean, you get a Zibanejad, Trocheck, Hedl, 1-2-3 punch at center ice. That's pretty good. So if they get him back, that would be a great. Ryan Lindgren also banged up a little bit. He was injured Thursday against the Bruins, not practicing with the Rangers yesterday, and doubtful for this game tonight against the Detroit Red Wings. It's looking like you're probably going to see Zach Jones be the guy to take his spot on defense, along with Schneider, Trouba, Miller, and Fox, the other 5 defensemen here for the New York Rangers. So that's what we're looking at here in this one. And actually, you know what? Libor Hayek is probably going to take his spot because Zach Jones was already playing with Schneider, Trouba with Miller, Lindgren was with Fox. Probably Libor Hayek is going to get in the lineup tonight on the blue line for the Rangers. I like the Rangers here in some, and I don't like to. I feel like I'm turning my back on Detroit because I've taken Detroit a couple of times this week in a row against Washington and against the New York Islanders. And after that 8-3 debacle they suffered against Buffalo, kind of woke this team up. They played pretty good both of those games. I mean, 6-1, the combined score for the Detroit Red Wings in their last 2 home victories against the Capitals and the Islanders. So they definitely played a lot better. Certainly, they weren't happy with their defensive performance in that game against Buffalo, but a part of the reason that was a bad defensive performance in that game was Alex Nedeljkovic, the goaltender, and he will be the starter tonight for the Red Wings against the Rangers, and he's not played well. I think he's officially lost the starting job to Ville Husso, at least for now, because Husso has clearly played better than Nedeljkovic, and I think Derek Lalonde, the head coach, is starting to realize that. It's been tough. 4.96 goals against average and an .871 save percentage for Alex Nedeljkovic. Very ugly numbers. Very rough here to start the season for him. So we'll see. I mean, it's just odd that, look, the Detroit team that gave up 6 goals to New Jersey, 8 goals to Buffalo, 4 goals to Chicago with Nedeljkovic in net is also the same team that just gave up a single goal to the Islanders and the Capitals combined in their last 2 games with Ville Husso in net. So there's no doubt, this team's Husso's played better than Nedeljkovic. Detroit's played better in front of Husso than Nedeljkovic. I think it's a combination of the 2 things, if you ask me. So, but I like the Rangers here in a bounce-back spot. They have the rest advantage. I would look at a team total here, over 3.5. Given those ugly numbers here with Nedeljkovic this season, I think New York Rangers over 3.5 team total, -138. I think that's a solid way to go. I'd also probably put a couple of bucks on the first period puck line. I think you're probably going to get a good start for the Rangers, -0.5, +120 might be worth a look. It's just going to be difficult to ask the Detroit Red Wings here, to take. And to be honest with you, when it comes to Detroit, there is a little bit of a home road dichotomy thing starting to develop with this young group, which isn't surprising. I mean, a lot of these teams, when you're trying to build something with a core of young players, you often play a little bit more at ease and a little more comfortable on your home ice. Well, Detroit's 5-2 at home this year at Little Caesars Arena, the Pizza Box, but they're only 1-3 on the road. So a little bit of a home road split starting to happen with Detroit. I think the Rangers team total over 3.5 is the best bet for me in this game, is the best way to approach it. But I wouldn't talk you out of the Rangers first period puck line either in this one at a plus price. That's the way I would probably look at this one. As far as any props go, Kakko and Lafreniere. I mean, Kakko on the top line. Lafreniere's getting chances. I think the puck's going to go in for him definitely at some point very soon. And maybe it'll be tonight here against a goalie that's struggling a little bit in Alex Nedeljkovic. So definitely keep an eye on that. I could see Alexei Lafreniere because his expected goals numbers are very high. Tells you that he probably should be producing more offensively than he has so far. So Lafreniere, I think at some point for the Rangers is going to find a way to break through. As far as Detroit props, if you're going to look at someone, Pius Suter, who had a nice goal yesterday against the Islanders, he's been elevated to the top line. And I love taking advantage of those situations. And you're going to be able to get, obviously, a very good price on Pius Suter to score a goal here tonight for this afternoon for the Detroit Red Wings. And again, a top line player that isn't priced like it. We're talking plus 500 to score a goal in some spots. So that's the kind of bargain bin goal score prop value that I like to see. All right, last game, Florida Panthers, Anaheim Ducks. Florida -200 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I'm probably going to look over the total again here. I mean, Anaheim, it's almost at the point now where you just take Anaheim over the total until they prove they can shut it down defensively, and they just can't. Now, they won last night, but it wasn't because their defense played great or the goaltending was great. It was mostly because they outscored San Jose, and they took advantage of some shoddy turnovers and goaltending from San Jose. This is still an Anaheim team that is a disaster in their own end. Another 4 goals allowed to San Jose in spite of the win last night. They allowed 8 to Vancouver, 5 to San Jose earlier this week, 3 to Toronto, 4 to Vegas, 4 to Tampa Bay, 5 to Detroit. You get the point. I mean, they're just giving up, it seems, 4 or 5 goals at least every night for the most part. And now they've gone over the total in 4 straight games. Florida's all of a sudden now started to go over the total. 4 of their last 5 games have gone over the total. And this is the end of the long road trip for them. You could see sloppy play. You could see turnovers. You could see a bunch of issues with them. That's usually what happens when you've been on the road a long time, like Florida's been, through Arizona, San Jose, LA, and now Anaheim tonight. And this is also going to be third road game in 4 nights for the Panthers. This is when mistakes defensively creep into your game. When you're a little bit mentally, you're not sharp mentally because you've been on the road for a while. Physically, you're worn down because of all the travel a little bit. And you could see that here. And Anaheim certainly has the offensive capabilities, even though they don't have the D capabilities right now. Max Comtois continues to be a guy to continue to back. He scored again last night for the Anaheim Ducks. He's been elevated up to the top line for this team. And it's, again, another situation where he's not being priced with his goal prop like a top-line player, plus 360 in some spots for him to score a goal. That's probably worth a look in this game tonight. I think it's probably the best player prop option here for the Anaheim Ducks, although you could consider Henrique, who scored again last night. He's starting to get it going, and you can get right around, you can even get as high, I believe, as plus 350 on Adam Henrique tonight. So, really good price there with him. Couple good Duck props there for goal scorer props. Maybe Mason McTavish too, who is someone that we expected offense from him. He finally gets on the one of his best games this season last night in the win against San Jose. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. Maybe you buy low on Mason McTavish now that he finally saw the puck go in, and now the floodgates might open for him. He's plus 470 in some spots to score a goal tonight for Anaheim, the young Mason McTavish. So that might be worth a look. As far as Florida goes, it's frustrating with me because, look, I've mentioned E2 Cool Mint Lusterinen a bunch, and I didn't bet him last night, and sure enough, he scores a goal for the Florida Panthers. But even on that third line, he's getting a ton of chances for the Panthers. He might be worth a look. Colin White might be undervalued from a goal prop perspective. I don't know if Nick Cousins is going to score in this situation, but because he hasn't scored a goal yet this year, but he has been moved up to the second line by Paul Maurice here for the Florida Panthers. So Nick Cousins with plus 600 in some spots to score a goal. Again, he's not necessarily an offensive dynamo, but he has been moved up to a top 6 forward role, and that's still the kind of advantageous situation we kind of want to look for when it comes to player props. So something to keep in mind. But for me, I'm just going to stick to the over here, 6.5 in this game. It's back-to-back for both teams, but it's especially a tough spot here for the Florida Panthers at the end of this lengthy road trip. They go home to face Kakalaki on Wednesday. They will play their first home game after this road trip against Carolina. So I like goals in this game. We'll go with Florida Anaheim over 6.5. As far as the goaltending matchup is concerned, it was Stolarz for Anaheim last night, which means it should be John Gibson tonight on the back-to-back. 4.58 goals against average, 883 save percentage for John Gibson. Those are just nightmarish numbers for him, although the defense in front of him hasn't played well either. And it'll probably be Spencer Knight for Florida, 3-1. His numbers are 2.53 goals against, which is pretty solid. It's a save percentage you don't love to see, though. 899 save percentage for Spencer Knight so far. So, okay so far, but you'd like to see him continue to grow and get better. He was off a better start last time against Arizona, albeit in a losing effort. Gave up 2 goals in that game. Again, though, Knight's going to probably have to be on top of his game because this is a tired Florida team. They've been traveling a bit. I could see them making some mistakes, coughing up the puck, breakdowns in defensive zone coverage, all of those things when you're weary and road weary at the end of a long road trip. So I like over 6.5 here, Florida and Anaheim. All right, that is your look at the Sunday card. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. And a reminder, of course, we'll be back to live shows Monday, 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, our Monday edition of the Ice Guys, and we will break down the 3-game card for tomorrow on that edition of the show. And a reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. The daily card is there. Tons of great content and bonus content, bonus videos as well. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 a month. All right, best bet to wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Alex B. Smith, his best bet for this Sunday card is Florida Anaheim, first period over 2 plus 110. So that's first period over 2 plus 110, Florida Anaheim. That is Alex B. Smith's best bet for this Sunday card. My best bet for this Sunday card is that same game, but I'm going to go full game over. Florida Anaheim over 6.5. That is going to be my best bet for this Sunday card. Like I said, Panthers at the end of a long road trip. I could see them making defensive mistakes, and I just can't keep the puck out of their own net. And Florida is starting to get their offense, on track a little bit. We know they pelted a ton of shots, and their expected goals numbers are very high. And for some reason, the puck wasn't going in for them for a little bit. But here now, you're starting to see on this road trip, they score 4 against San Jose. They score 4 more last night, albeit in a loss to the LA Kings. Starting to get the puck to go in the net, the Florida Panthers. And Anaheim, we know they can score. It's keeping the puck out of their net that's been the problem. I like goals tonight in the duck pond. Panthers Ducks over 6.5 for my best bet. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us and listening on the podcast as well. Speaking of the podcast, the Ice Guys podcast, the Ice Guys is live Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live on YouTube, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.